Hey, and welcome to day 3 of the 7-day piano challenge. So we're going to hop to the screen and then the keyboard to play around with the piece that we've been loosely called piece that we've been working on for the last couple days. So the first day, I gave you just a little thing to try on the keyboard to start getting acquainted with where the different letters on the keys are. Day 2, I basically had you do the same thing, except this time I had you print off the sheet music for it. So it's like the exact same thing that we played on day 1, but it's actually on notated music now. So it's not we didn't get into teaching you how to read notes on the staff, but just to get you used to the idea of how the notes move on the staff. So today we're going to complete the triad of what I consider the most important foundational things to learn when you're learning the piano. And that is keyboard geography, music notation, and rhythm. So let's get started. There are 3 concepts in music that I like to really focus in on for the first lessons. And these are subjects that I tend to deep dive and spend a good week focusing on each of these individually. But I also like to get people immersed in all 3 of these right at the beginning as well, and then kind of pick them off one by one. So the first day of the 7-day challenge, we started with keyboard geography. This is the first thing I teach anyone. And this is the focus for the first week of lessons pretty much always when I teach, whether it be a 5-year-old or an 80-year-old, doesn't really matter. We focus on just where the notes on the keyboard are, where they go, what they look like. We don't really focus, and I do like to get everyone playing some kind of music at the end of a first lesson. Kind of like that piece of music I shared with you, just something really simple that explores the notes on the keyboard as a way for you to learn basically your geography, but get playing something too, so that you're not just learning things in theory, you're actually learning things in practice. So the next thing that I like to teach, sort of in conjunction, but in the next couple weeks, would be notation and rhythm. So yesterday we looked at notation, and we did a little bit of a notation immersion, in which case I didn't really explain to you how to read notes. I basically just shared with you a few ideas, a few concepts, gave you the sheet music for the piece that we learned without sheet music, and just said, hey, here, look at this. And just see what happens when you play the piece looking at this, as opposed to just looking at the sheet I gave you on day 1. And then the focus of today's video is going to be on rhythm. And we're going to treat this similarly to how we treated notation. I'm not going to get into a detailed deep dive on how to do rhythm, because I've done videos like that before. One of the earliest videos that I created was on how to read sheet music and how to I can't remember exactly what the video would be called, but just something related to rhythm, where I really deep dive it. But today what I want to talk about is just a couple basic rhythmic concepts, and then we're going to take that little piece that you've been noodling around with the last couple days, and we're going to play around with a few different types of rhythms. So I'm just going to draw a couple pictures here of different types of notes that we're going to perhaps play around with. So we have quarter notes, we have half notes, and we have whole notes. And I just want to very briefly discuss the difference between these without, again, getting too deep into it, because this is stuff that you can deep dive a lot more. And this week is mainly to give you like an immersion and a quick overview on some of the really important musical concepts that I do like to go in much deeper depth with in subsequent lessons. So anyway, we have a quarter note, which is worth 1 count. We have a half note, which is worth 2 counts. And we have a whole note, which is worth 4 counts. So the least you need to know is that quarter notes are pretty much just like a standard unit of measurements when it comes to beats. So I'm just clapping right now. Every time you hear a clap, this would be the equivalent of one beat. The way that I like to teach this is, if you think about a clock, and if you think about the second hand ticking on the clock, 60 beats per minute, right? Because there's 60 ticks of the clock in a minute. That would be the equivalent of each tick being a quarter note beat. Tick, tick, each one of those is 1 beat. Now, a half note is just 2 of those. It would be 2 ticks of the clock. So it'd be 1, 2, 1, 2, as opposed to 1, 1, 1. And then the whole note is 4 ticks of the clock. So it basically, if you're thinking of it as, I like the clock metaphor because I just think it's a nice visual way to think about this. But you are thinking about 4 ticks. So that's a really long one. We tend to only use it at the end of pieces. All right, so going back to our piece, you'll notice that the sheet music I shared with you yesterday has a mix of quarter notes and half notes. And then I believe there's a whole note with a 4 count at the very end. Yeah, there it is, sitting right there at the very end. So the the quarter notes, the way we've been playing them is just steady, one note after the other. But what if we changed the rhythm of this a little bit? What if instead of doing quarter notes pretty much unanimously all the way through, we tried doing, say, like a quarter note and a half note? We went da. And so we went da, 1, 2, ba, 1, 2, ba, 1. So we could try a different kind of rhythm there. Or we could do it, we could think of it in groups of 3. So maybe we go quarter, quarter, and then we hold for 2. So go da, da, 1, 2, da, da, 1, 2. So there's little ways that we can manipulate the rhythm. So what I want to do now, with this in mind, is hop to the keyboard and let's just try out a few different rhythmic variations of this idea. And your assignment today is to take this idea that you've been working on for a couple days and improvise a rhythm. Come up with a different rhythm, something other than what we've been doing. We're going to be a little bit flexible here, and I encourage you to get creative because that's something, just to give you a little hint, that we're going to be doing in upcoming days. So anyway, let's hop to the keyboard. All right, so let's apply these concepts to the actual playing of the piece on the keyboard. Just to review, we've been working in pure quarter notes up the keyboard. We've been going tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. 1, 2, tick, tock. 1, 2. So we're basically following a steady and consistent quarter note rhythm all the way up to the top. And then when we get to the top, we hold it for 2 beats. So that's the sound of our quarter note and half note pattern that we've been inadvertently playing. Because yesterday I just kind of threw the music at you, didn't explain anything about the counting, and trusted it to your ear to figure it out. So now that maybe you have a general understanding of the 2 different types of rhythms you've basically been working on in this piece, steady quarter notes and then a 2 count note, what we can do is apply this by actually playing it and manipulating it. So like we talked about, what would happen if you put a half note on every second note? So instead of dun, 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 all the way up, what if we stopped on the D's and went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'm going to count to 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. Gives it kind of this totally different lilt. It gives it a little bit of like a rocking sound. What if I did the reverse? What if we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes? So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Gives it a little bit of like a rocking sound. What if I did the reverse? What if we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes? So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Has a really nice character to it. What if we If we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes. So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Um, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Kind of this totally different lilt. It gives it a little bit of like a rocking sound. What if I did the reverse? What if we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes? So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Rest as quarter notes. So we went 1, 2, 1, 2. Gives it kind of this totally different lilt. It gives it a little bit of like a rocking sound. What if I did the reverse? What if we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes? So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Gives it kind of this totally different lilt. It gives it a little bit of like a rocking sound. What if I did the reverse? What if we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes? So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. gives it kind of this totally different lilt. It gives it a little bit of like a rocking sound. What if I did the reverse? What if we held the C and counted that one to 2 and then played the rest as quarter notes? So we went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I like this one better. Has a really nice character to it. What if we added a note? So another way that we can manipulate the rhythm, and this will give us a little bit more freedom, is I'm going to add a third note to the pattern. This time I'm going to do, instead of just C, D, I'm going to do C, D, and E. So we're going to add a third note in there. And I'm going to be using fingers 2, 3, and 4 to do this. I'll go 1. So I'm going 1, 1, 2. Stopping on the E. Really nice little pattern, just adding that one extra note. Gets a little muddy down there in the lower registers. That's okay, we're just kind of experimenting here. Another thing that you could try, if you're gonna be brave and add a third note, is you could try doing it with no held beats. So no half notes, just all quarter notes. You could go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that has this really nice sound to it as well. Maybe a little bit more difficult to play, but it has a really cool quality to it. Another incarnation of 3 notes that you could play with, and this is a useful pattern to try anyway, is separating, playing the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th notes. So instead of just going 1, 2, 3, all the notes right beside each other, you spread out the notes a little bit and have a gap in between. So you go 1, 2, 1, 2. Or you could do it in all quarter notes. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then you're basically just playing arpeggios, and people will think you're a very fabulous piano player. This is something that I would even expect someone would be able to do within the 2nd lesson if I was teaching them privately. Because all you really need is an understanding of patterns and a basic sense of where the letters are. So do you know where C is? If you can find C, you're good, because your fingers can figure out the pattern if you can find C. So can you find A? Well, good. If you can find A, then your fingers can figure out the pattern. Can you find F? Well, good, because then you're still doing the exact same pattern. So what I want you to do this week is to manipulate the rhythm. I want you to get inside the piece that we're working on. It's not really a piece, right? It's just something I improvised, just something I made up that you could try, just to get a sense for keyboard geography, for notation, and for rhythm. So to really start getting a feel for rhythm, of course you could watch a more detailed rhythm video like the one I've created. But what you could also do is get inside the piece by changing where you put different held counts, and by practicing actually counting by going, say, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And just experimenting, exploring, and paying attention to what the little changes in rhythm do to the overall sound of our little improvised piece. All right, have fun, and let's be prepared to get creative tomorrow.